Money laundering. Money laundering. We've heard a lot about this topic from Tim Pool, and it turns out he's the one doing the money laundering. As much as he's had to say about this, him and other conservatard grifters of his same ilk, the same stripe, who will go on and on about money laundering to the point where it doesn't really even make a lot of sense what they've been saying, how they've been talking vis-a-vis Ukraine, money laundering, that somehow this whole war is money laundering, that even though it's a war that, I mean, even the fact that Russia can't win, they can't really get very far, they can't penetrate the front lines, but somehow, you know, one would think that the U.S. is providing some kind of aid, but instead, no, it's money laundering is what's going on. So somehow Ukraine has been owes really nothing to the U.S. No, it doesn't really have to have any gratitude because they've been single-handedly defeating the U.S.'s big enemy on their own. Ukraine is just doing it on their own, and we've only been doing money laundering to help a few oligarchs get nice cars and whoop-de-woo. Okay, and then it turns out, just because, I mean, go figure, and with the Russians, it's always been everything that they accuse other people of doing, they're doing themselves. And they can't even help. They're just not very creative people. So all that they can really come up with to accuse other people is the things that they know that they're doing in secret. And so this story broke a week or so ago. I didn't really feel the need to speak on it immediately. We're not breaking the story, but in a way, we've already broken the story. We've been talking about this for a long time, that these people are clear-cut Russian agents, that these people, these media idiots, are just saying Russian propaganda narratives, and nothing but. Okay. So we didn't really need to do a victory lap. You know, if I were to do that, if I were to make videos, just say, you know, I'm right, I've been proven right, I'd pretty much just double my video counts because everything I say is pretty much right, and everything that I've really, including all the Israel stuff, where however many people would go on and on since October 7th of last year, like they're preparing for Iran to strike. I've said all along that I don't think they have any interest in that, or any other Arab state. You know, no one's going to try to jump in. It's just a matter of accurately reading the playing field here. And go figure, now all the resistance, they're just getting their balls blown off by their pages or whatever, not in active combat, just completely ignominious. But they haven't really launched any strikes, have they? You know, but just like with everything else, you know, here it should have been clear enough that these people are Russian agent receiving Russian money, and it's coming out a little bit, just a little bit so far. And that's kind of why I figured I might say a few words on the topic, just so we don't lose track and we don't lose focus. Just because this is a lot broader than just Tenet or whatever. I've really very little. You know, I don't really know all the details of this. I've never even really heard of Tenet or whatever. I could, you know, one can just tell because you look at all these conservative weirdos, and you could just right from face. I mean, just look at them. but they're not genuine people. They're not sincere, and what they say doesn't really make a lot of sense until you kind of figure that, oh yeah, they're foreign agent. Oh yeah, it's Russia. Oh yeah, Russia's been doing this stuff for 100 years now. You know, more or less. And these like all these people, it's so obvious, but a few things need to be said. For one, all their defenses. One of them, I mean, Tim Pool and some of these other guys who, you know, these people are now that they're being charged. They're not being charged. They're the victim. You know, how are they a victim? Because someone wrote them checks for millions of dollars, and is from the Russian government to say what they were saying, what they were already going to say. Okay, so they're a victim here. You know, that really hurt them real bad. This kind of victimhood. They're a victim now that they're maybe sweating that they're going to jail for their crimes, because these people are criminal. And I mean, just to be real clear, these people are traitors to the United States. You know, insofar as that some of these people are American, I guess a lot of them are Canadian, kind of a very strange amount of them are Canadian. Nevertheless, we'll just say, just across the board, whatever they are, they're not real American. They're not true American. Okay, and they've insinuated themselves into America in a way that is can best be characterized as infiltration, whether or not they're totally cognizant of what they're doing. Because some of these people, you know, it's a Russian term, the useful idiot, definitely could fall in that. Because however many of them are going to say, this is where you don't want to lose sight of the fact that, because they'll say, you know, well, we were just saying what we were going to say anyways, or some such, or we would have said this without, or we didn't know that Russia was paying us, and we were just going to say that. Okay, but that's just because they're ignorant of everything that surrounds them and everything that has informed their whole worldview, which is all hostile foreign propaganda. And it should be weird enough, you know, that a hostile state would take such interest to where they're just throwing money at you, to where the enemies of the United States are just throwing money at you to keep doing what you're doing. In fact, what they've always been doing is being traitors, and what they've always been doing is, if nothing else, even if say there wasn't like a Russian agent, like like one of the guys, there's some Russians that are charged, and one of them, there's Russian state media employees now being charged with money laundering by the U.S. Justice Department, literally hilariously charged with money laundering, giving money to Tim Pool and all these other grifters who used to cry about money laundering. They're charged for money laundering and like not registering as foreign agent or whatever, which is the thing with all these people. But even if, you know, and one of these guys named is Kalashnikov. So even if it's not an agent Kalashnikov telling you, you know, you're not meeting up with some shadowy Russian agent named Kalashnikov, even though that's actually what did happen, you know, you're still basically your whole life is just a lie where you've just been brainwashed and you've been fed all the stuff that Russia's wanted you to hear, and you are what Russia wanted you to be, because they've been messing with our country with the stuff for a long time. So, and you just ate it all up. You know, but one thing this should show, because it's not like any of these people really matter that much and aren't totally replaceable. Like we don't need Tim Pool or Benny Johnson or Lauren Chen or Dave Rubin, for crying out loud. Like, it's not like we need these people. In fact, most people just loathe these people. Just their whole existence is kind of cringe. And it's not like these are like some cultural treasures or something. Like, what they're doing is what Russia's doing. They don't. It's not just them, and the fact that they're paying them, it's not like that would change the whole narrative, because you could see all these other outlets that are more or less saying the same thing, and even like Tucker Carlson is involved because they need to play the video of Tucker Carlson in the grocery store, and it's even in like the indictment or whatever, where they're saying, hey, maybe this is a little too propagandistic. It's going to be obvious that we're just doing straight up Russian propaganda if we just play this video of Tucker Carlson in the Russian grocery store. Like, people are going to figure this is just complete enemy propaganda from a foreign country. Like, this is just so obvious. But it's not obvious, because we've got people who are complete morons. Okay, but so far it's only a few people who are victims officially. Only a few people. The only people charged are like the Russians, I think. Obviously all these people should be charged, and we'll see whatever the Justice Department does, which is probably going to be very little for who knows what reason. God knows why. But we shouldn't just figure they introduced Tim Pool as like the Lord Ha-Ha of the Russian Federation or something. They're introducing this Lord Ha-Ha type figure to say their whole narrative, all that. Actually, Tim Pool is just saying what tons of other people are saying. He's saying, this is what I would have said anyway. What should be a take here is that obviously Russia's doing this stuff on a much broader level, they're not only doing it with these people. These aren't the only people who are receiving anonymous donations from the Russian Federation. And who knows why we're not seeing broader, like I say, but that should be real clear, because these aren't game changers. This isn't like the whole thing. Is because this is part of a much broader strategy of infiltration and to get people to question everything. It could even be there's that Adam Curtis documentary where he talks about Surkov, and I think it's always been broader than Surkov, but the Adam Curtis documentary focused on that was his in the Russian Federation. This was his role. It was kind of his genius that he would back all these different factions. He would back the hard right, and he would back the hard left, and that he would also, after so long, let you know that these people are being backed by the Russian government. This is like a Fed operation. Like, he would want you, after a while, he would want you to know. And the idea was that you'll just start to question everything, and reality itself will just seem like something that you can't really ever wrap your mind. You can't really find a center of gravity in all of it. And I mean, and part of it is it'll just a spitball effect. It's going to work on however many people won't even notice or won't even pick up on the fact that they're being played at all. And then some people will, and this is just going to be a multi-level, just kind of like a mindfuckery kind of thing. And it certainly seems like that could even be part of what's going on with the Tenet, or why they made that a little more obvious. Why they would play their hand a little strongly in a way to like reveal it, because that's how much they've infiltrated American media, where they're backing all these different figures, and they're backing all these different kinds of factions, and all this kind of weird stuff. And I think it's up, like, because it's however much hard left people, you know, they're doing some with the far right. I think certainly not in a way where the far right wins. I would say, is that like some people might try to smear their political opponent, like you would say, oh well, the right is compromised by the Russian stuff, or but you got to figure there's some on the left as well, or same with Putin endorsing Kamala Harris and things like that. Because it's not like they want any single faction to win necessarily, and certainly not the right. Although I think for various reasons, conservatives can't really. They can't really tell. They can't really make it out, and just in general, I'd say libtards are a little bit sharper. I don't think they can really grasp exactly what Russia's doing, and in some ways they made it kind of cringe to call out Russia. I think Russians are probably very pleased with some of that, where the libtards go real heavy, and when actually it turns out, as much as it might have seemed foolish at the time how much they were talking about the Russia's backing Trump and all that, and Russia's doing all this stuff to like Trump is Putin's puppet and things, and they're going on all about Russian collusion, as if Russia is really really tight with these people, and they make it kind of a joke or make it kind of a culture war issue. But it's not really like that, because Russia really hates all of us. They're not really for Trump, or they're not really for libtards, or they're not. And most people can kind of get why, or they'll maybe write off, like, conservatards are big into Russia right now, like literally. They're the people who are dumb enough to still be to actually be fans of Russia. And but if there's however many MAGA people who will actually think Putin's a good guy, or we should ally with him or something, and then if you point out that Putin endorses Kamala, it's, well, of course, because she's weak and he can do what he wants, or whoop-de-woo, which is just, it's so bonkers, the extent that these people go with their kind of cognitive dissonance. Someone like Jackson Hinkle, I'd figure might have might have like the tremendous cognitive dissonance to like not really notice, but I'm pretty sure he gets it, and he's like he's just a shameless character who figures he's just gonna laugh his way to the bank. You know, he's getting it where he's doing better than a lot of conservatards, or it's kind of like the, you know, being the whore. You know, you'd say, well, that's a prostitute, but then you're even worse than a prostitute. You're just a floozy, you know, you're putting it out for free. And that's what you see from a lot of conservatards. Even after this has come out, a lot of their dialogue about it has been, well, I'll just say this, I'll just keep saying this for free. You know, Putin doesn't need to pay me to say this. I'll say it for free. You know, it's because you're so brainwashed and stupid. You know, no one needs to pay you. You're dumb enough to just do it for free. You're dumb enough to just trick. And it's the same with a lot of like the churches and things, and the hardcore Christians and the fundamentalists, and who are hardcore into Putin. For even though their religion is banned in Russia, that doesn't make it to them. These people don't do research. They're not hearing sermons about this. They're not really well versed in what maybe the Bible says about lying or thou shalt not kill or things like that. Like, they don't really get. They have no principles, and just beyond culture war, claptrap. You know, you would think, in the way that these people would present themselves, especially as a Christian, where you would say, you know, you should be rooted in your principles. Your faith should provide you a viewpoint that you can judge things by, that you can discern things by. But in reality, you don't see that at all. We're not seeing that, at least from our people. Okay, you know, there's nothing really good to be said about it. It's just the truth of the matter that it turns out our people are just continuously disappointing with some of the stuff, where you still see all the kind of Christian, hardcore Christian MAGA, and they're like pro Russia or whatever. And it's just like how you point out that they'll say, oh, well, Russia is they have traditional Christian values, and they're against homosexuality, and they're against LGBT propaganda, and that's banned in Russia. But then you point out to these people that actually that very propaganda Russia will run in our country, and has been doing so for years and years, and they continue to do so. And then I bring this up to people, and pretty much every time they're going to say, well, of course, you know, of course he would do that because he's trying to, because we're his enemy, so he's going to destabilize his, you know, of course he would do that because he would like to engineer the moral decay, the moral rot on America. And it's like, listen to what you're saying. Have some self-respect, where you're just going to cheer on the very person who's purposely causing moral decay in your own country. Like that's cool to you because it's foreign, and you know, you wonder why. And they'll say, well, but the U.S. has become globo homo because, yeah, in part because of your guy. In part, you know, you'll cheer it on if he brings that on, and then you stab the country as quick as you can. And this is what these people have done, because when LGBT became a big thing in America, they weren't really no conservatives presented any real opposition to it. real quickly Republicans adopted gay marriage as like their own thing that they were totally fine with and all these things. But then if Russia wants them to flip on their own country because of this issue years later when they're in a war, then they do it. And if it was a actual principle for these people, it would have come up before, but it didn't. And even now, like, who does Russia back? I mean, and who are they actually giving millions of dollars to? And it's people like Dave Rubin, who is really tight with Candace Owen. Like Candace Owens, like he like I don't know if she went to his wedding to a man, or I think he went to her wedding to a tradcath with his like husband, and it just shows the whole thing. Like, and he's been on her show, and she's been like applauding. Like, Candace Owens is all about Dave Rubin and defended Dave. Now Candace Owens about all this other weird stuff, but she was all about Dave Rubin, who is a Russian agent who is literally funded millions of dollars by Russia. And this is a homosexual who uses surrogates and so enslaves women. So they have like a woman slave to impregnate with a homosexual sperm, so that her womb can be exploited and they can give the child to a gay married couple. And that's what Russia's about. That's what Russia pays $10 million to, or whatever. However many millions of dollars to. And it's some crazy amounts. Like for Tim Pool, it was like 100,000 per episode per month or per week or something. And like Dave Rubin was getting like $5 million a year or something. Like, I'm not too sure on it. It doesn't matter that much in the details. Hopefully the Justice Department will sort that out and charge these people and put them in the electric chair one by one. But we'll just see where it all plays out. I mean, 100% these people are guilty, and Russia's guilty too. Because what business does Russia have foisting Dave Rubin on my country and this kind of propaganda, which I consider an attack? Like, if another country does like, it's not the most hilarious thing if like other countries are like destabilizing my country. Like, if China sells like poison milk or something to like school children, or like they put drugs in the milk or something, or like, God forbid we start getting like milk from China or something, or like whatever kind of, like, I don't know. I know, there's probably some kind of food that people eat that's from China, God forbid, but let's just say in a hypothetical situation, we're getting school milk from China or something, and they're putting like drugs in it. And then conservatives will be like, of course they would do it. That's a brilliant move, And like their kids will die of like fentanyl or something. Of course, well played. Touche to China for killing our kids with fentanyl or whatever. Really, that should be somewhat of an outrage. And like, it's not really a funny thing if Russia wants to bankroll Dave Rubin, some sick freak who is a grifter and a traitor, so he could say his war propaganda on why Ukrainians should be killed, while he gets surrogates he enslaves women for his sick pleasure. Well, like he needs to have these kids or whatever. And this is like a conservative thing. This is a right-wing guy. And this is who all these other weirdos, all the cool new anti-Semites and things like Candace Owens prop up is like Dave Rubin and and across the board, these people are all pro-Russia. Like, isn't that wild? Like, who's ever been on Tim Pool's show that was for Ukraine? Like one who, like, of any, like Destiny, maybe? But it is even, because he's like the libtard guy. But, and he's been on Tim Pool, I've been told. I know very little about that, but I know that you don't go on Tim Pool's show if you're not for Russia, if you are for Ukraine. And that's been since this war started. And like, I mean, when the war kicked off, like Tim Pool saying, "Oh, these sanctions against Russia are so bad. These sanctions are so bad. That's not right." And he said everyone should buy Bitcoin. And he's saying everyone should just invest all your money in Bitcoin right now. And Bitcoin actually started to go up right after the invasion where Russia invades Ukraine. Tim Pool saying, "Hey, that's not right. That Russia should be sanctioned, and Bitcoin can help. Bitcoin can help Russia. So invest all your money in Bitcoin. I'm going to put all my money in Bitcoin. Everyone needs to help and pump up Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin tanks." So good job, Tim Pool. Good job for that. For completely fleecing your followers, for completely causing the people to dump more money into Bitcoin right before it totally collapsed into a crypto winter or whatever, like the nuclear winter for crypto. So that's what he was all about. So right from the get-go, just zero concern for civilian casualties or all these people who are just like living their lives. People in the Ukraine who are just living their life, like people in like Mariupol who are just normal people, ordinary people. They're not culture war people. They're not libtards for or whatever. They weren't part of all these weird things that Tim Pool and all his freak show fellow travelers accused all these people of. Like, they're not running biolabs or whatever, or whatever they were. They're not for the libtard New World Order, or they're not working for BlackRock or whatever dumb idiot moron theory that he comes up with, just spitballing stuff, just like a typical Russian, just right off the bat from this invasion. Zero concern that there's just all these normal people just getting killed because this Russian dipshit idiot invades their country. Is buy Bitcoin, because it's not right that Russia should be sanctioned when they just attack people. But this isn't like, but he was going to say that anyway. And every single, I don't know. I don't know how often his show's on. I think it's on like every day. But I know like nobody gets on that show if they're for Ukraine at all. If they're not saying the whole Russia rah Russia narrative. And that's all these people. And beyond that, a lot of the stuff they say that Tenet would have said, that that a lot of these people would have said probably really had nothing to do with Ukraine, because they're not really on it all that often. And that's part of their thing with conservatards in general, that however many conservatives will proudly say, I've never even seen any footage of, this is all money laundering, even though Tim Pool's money laundering for Russia. They'll say this is money laundering because I've never even seen any footage of the war at all, which is just completely unforgivable incuriosity that we would have like Eastern Front combat kickoff and you're just completely like, you're not into it. I don't know. I'm into it because I've always thought that war is very interesting. I think if you're a man, you are obligated to know about these things. You're obligated to know about the state of warfare, about war tech, about, tactics. You should have some knowledge on this. Just as a man, these are prerequisites to what I would consider a man. And these would be prerequisites to, like, anyone who I would be friends with would like, if you come at me, wanting to be my friend and you just know nothing of, like, it's okay if you don't know everything, like, no duh, like, obviously, like, who does, it's not a skill, but if you're just going to probably say, I know nothing of war, and I haven't heard anything about this war, and all I care about is the Dave Rubin show and conservatard media, and I just like libertarianism and just money, and all I like is money and football, and I would just consider like a natural peasant and just someone who I don't want to really hang around at all. Like, not to say you're a totally bad person. I mean, you probably are, but you just wouldn't be someone who I'd want to be friends with, because anyone who I'd want to be friends with, I would like to think would, like, if like it came down to it, like I'm not a prepper, or I don't think like shit's gonna hit the fan like anytime soon, or necessarily ever, frankly. But if it did, I would figure anyone who I'd be friends with would be like, useful or something. Not just completely like useless. Like not just some like goober who doesn't know how like any weapons work, or like couldn't see themselves in a fight, just not very confrontational, not very I don't know. But that's how a lot of these kind of conservative dorks are. And they're just proudly oblivious to any kind of martial values whatsoever, which is just kind of a shame on our country that is so prevailing. But who knows? Maybe that's part of the Russian thing, is to turn everybody into huge pussies by, their multi-pronged media strategy. Just get people like, and this is a multi-pronged strategy, and I mean, other clear evidence for it. I'd say, is with Trump. You can see how the timing of this is interesting, and conservatives are kind of dumb in all the ways that they've kind of, the way they see this, like they saw it as like an attack on them, that the Justice Department would like bring this up on like Dave Rubin, like it's an attack on MAGA or something, when really this should have helped them. Because frankly, a lot of these people were already turning on Trump. Did you notice that? Like, what is it with Lauren Chen? And I don't really know her deal at all. I'm not really familiar with I mean, I can't really say that much, but I do know that she was like trying to spearhead this abortion stuff. Like Trump's not, he's not anti-abortion enough. So let's not vote for him or something. Let's, screw him, let him lose, And I mean, isn't that kind of funny that these people they're being bankrolled by Russia, and then there's like a coordinated effort to kind of turn on Trump, even within these for not being anti-abortion enough. And you see the churches and things like that. All these churches. I mean, it's really across the board. I don't really take a lot of pleasure in it to just say really all these churches are kind of garbage. Like, I can't really think of any good ones that are speaking on the topic and that can discern the issue clearly, like that can discern this issue that is like facing our country and is like a critical, very serious issue. And just in general, like this should be a Christian value, like things like the truth, honesty, sincerity, like these things should be important as a Christian. Like you shouldn't be a fake. You should be able to discern a fake, like the genuine article. Because however much these people talk, there'll be like the Antichrist will come and he'll try to like become like Christ, and you'll have to see your way through it. You'll have to see that this is like a fake second coming of Christ, a false Messiah is going to like present himself. I find it pretty hard to believe that evangelicals wouldn't just fall for anything like that. Like if like a supernatural force that's like handed power by like Satan himself is going to like work all these miracles and stuff, like that, they wouldn't just completely fall for it. When they fall for Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, all this other garbage, like Lauren Chan is getting them to get worked up about abortion and things, which actually kind of ran out of steam since these indictments, where that's where it was going. More and more conservatives, more and more evangelical types were like coming out against Trump and all that. And then other kind of trad elements, and go figure, all the it's all the people we talk about. The trads are all, he's not anti-abortion enough. Nick Fuentes, he's declaring war on Trump because of like go figure. He's like the biggest pro-Putin guy, even though, I don't know, it just blows your mind because this stuff is all, like these people can't see through it. And it's just because all their thought leaders at every turn are total phonies and are bankrolled by Russia and things. I mean, the other thing, so they'll say, we were going to say the same thing anyway, or they'll say, this is like an attack on MAGA, or then another thing, they'll come out with like, oh, so it's bad that Russia does this or something, but like Israel is fine, or like in Ukraine is fine or something. Like, and first off, in regards to Israel, like if that's your big thing, I mean, why would you just say it's okay for Russia? If you're against this kind of foreign subversion, you perceive kind of a foreign subversion coming from Israel, okay, and then Russia does the same thing, just on principle, you should be like, hey, that's wrong. I don't like when Israel does that, and I don't like to see Russia do it either, or anybody else, like any other, if it's Canada, if it's China, I don't, like, that's not right. Instead they act like, you get the idea that, like, why can't why can't we do it? Why can't we get this backing from Russia if Israel is allowed to back people or something? Like, that's just completely bonkers, and that really subverts your own, that subverts that whole criticism of Israel with that. And then the other thing they'll like to go say sometimes is like, oh, well, I'd like to see how much Ukraine is, how much these people are getting paid by Ukraine or something to say all this Ukrainian stuff. Okay, so now you're trying to say Ukraine is money laundering to us or something. Like, yeah, man. Now, yeah, Ukraine, we're money laundering them, and then they money launder or something in return or something. Okay, but the thing about that is there's no real money in, and if there was, that'd be dope. Because, I mean, I don't know if I want to say that, but I wouldn't necessarily consider that a problem, because Ukraine is, I mean, it would be kind of a problem, but Ukraine is not an enemy. Ukraine is an ally. Obviously, we don't really want Ukraine to subvert our policy or something, or to do things that aren't in the U.S. best interest and have people say. But the fact is, there isn't really any money in just saying like what the government's doing or like supporting the government. The government doesn't really work like that, and this is part of the thing with all the dissidents in our country, even the ones that say aren't backed by, because there's other people might be a dissident for other reason. Going way back, I think it's kind of a problem with our country. Like after Nixon, people talk about like Woodward and Bernstein are like the journalistic heroes of all time, and like this is like the gold standard of journalism, and it's everything a journalist should aspire to be, to take down a president, and it's everything like that, like, because you can make a name for yourself by just tearing everything down, like, but there isn't really, it doesn't work the same way to go like to defend the president's policies, or, like, let's say there's an unpopular president and what he's actually doing is totally correct and is in the U.S. best interest, but nobody gets it. And there's no real money involved in someone coming along and revealing that actually what he's doing is right and he's a hero or something. It's only, you make a name for yourself by tearing everything down. And that's what everyone is always on about. That's why all these crummy journalists are always going for some like, they're always thinking that they're going to be like Woodward and Bernstein, or they're going to have some like Walter Cronkite moment or something where they like burn some president, or they like, reveal that the government's bad or something. Because that's where you make a powerful name for yourself, not by like defending what the government is doing necessarily. You don't make a name for yourself doing that, like, because why would you? Like, it's just like with any like religion or something. If you have a heresy, it's like named after you, or if you have a new cult or something, a sect, it's named after you. But if you are like just a defender of the faith, that's all you are. You're one of many. Nothing really that special or something. You're just part of everything else. You're just part of all. You don't. But there isn't like, you don't make a huge name for yourself. You don't attract all this foreign bucks or something. It's just not there. It's just, you're not going to get rich. You're not going to make a huge name for yourself by saying, hey, I agree with what the government's doing in Ukraine or something. Ukraine doesn't have the money to, they're not like, to like have all these people in the U.S. that are like singing their praise or something. They don't have infinite resources. In truth, they actually do need aid. They need our help. They need they need America's help. You know, so the money laundering it's not going both ways. If Zelensky hooked me up, that'd be one thing, but that's just not happening. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it's the worst thing in the world, but it's just not happening. It's just that's kind of a canard that Ukraine is doing the same thing. Like all these journalists or all these people who are, and frankly, there isn't that much of it like anymore. Certainly, at the beginning of the war, everyone was kind of stoked for Ukraine. Most normal people were kind of all about it because it was just so clear, like that this is what most people respond to. If one country just invades another for like no reason, they're just killing all these people. You know, like most people can kind of see, like you need to start doing mental gymnastics to figure out why, you know, to twist that around, which has happened just over time with just grifter after grifter and dissident after dissident, like just spinning all the stuff and just spitballing every which thing. You see how that erodes, but that took, I'd say probably a lot of foreign money and just hostile foreign influence. It didn't just happen. It didn't just, you know, people didn't just start getting the facts on this. They just started hearing it hammered by Tim Pool, by Benny Johnson, by Tucker Carlson, and all these people, like night after night. And these people are all collecting checks, and they're all collecting anonymous donations, and they're all getting hooked up by, and they're all making a name for saying why the government is bad. And so all these people, day in, day out, and there really hasn't ever been very much media to really explain the Ukrainian position, like why, like most people have still never heard of, say, the Budapest Memorandum. Most Americans are still not necessarily, they're unfamiliar with the fact that Ukraine gave up nuclear weapons, that the U.S. gave security guarantees, that the government, Biden, all these people, they never really made a huge case. I mean, the media kind of covered it, and it became kind of a popular cause, and certain people obviously are big into it, and these are just people with heart, though. They're not necessarily people who are consider themselves as like whatever, or what for whatever reason. I mean, it's almost surprising how much support Ukraine has got, you know, with very little being explained to them on why we should do this and all that, and why this is a good policy for the U.S. and things. And it turned into kind of a culture war issue, very unfortunately. But it's because of stuff like, I'd say just on both sides, probably bad faith actors being paid by people to just screw things up with our country. You know, it's not entirely a right-wing thing. And you just look at how it's Ukraine isn't that popular with left wingers, frankly, where you could see like you could only see so much support, compared to say Palestine, where there's tons of support from like the far left, where there's all these like rallies and stuff, and like on like ASU campus and things like that. I mean, I was going to ASU as a student when Russia invaded Ukraine, and it was something that like professors would kind of talk about a little bit, and it did kind of energize a lot of students, and I talked to a lot of students about it. Everyone was for Ukraine, but it wasn't necessarily the same. There weren't like huge rallies and things like that. Like it was basically a popular thing, but not like this energetic cause in the same way, where Palestine kind of is for various reasons. But it shouldn't be tolerated one bit, though, that Russia's giving millions of dollars to Dave Rubin, okay, to enslave women for his own sick thing, okay, and then he lies to people for war propaganda to kill, and this is what Russian soldiers die for Dave Rubin, so that their government is giving him millions of dollars. That's a very well-paid Russian agent. I mean, think of that. That's what, I don't know. To me, that's just what the Russian, that whole Russian thing is for freaking, I don't know. I don't think it's correct to promote Dave Rubin in my country at all for really any reason. And that kind of person, that kind of sick kind of person, conservative, whatever, I'm not okay with that. But yeah, those are some of the main things I wanted to say about it. Especially, I just think it's a much more broad thing than just Tim Pool and all that. What this really is, it's a much larger pool, and Russia is putting money in all the. Maybe there'll be future indictments. It would be nice to just see a cascade of the stuff, but this has been going on in our country for a long time, and the Justice Department is even doing very little for all these people. Like that Tim Pool could present himself as a victim of a crime, or Benny Johnson or something. Yeah, he's just a victim. But this isn't Russia's whole strategy. They've a much broader strategy, and all these other people who are saying the same thing or all that. I mean, we don't even need to ask, say, oh, well, isn't it interesting that you would just be saying this anyway, so you're just a natural traitor where a foreign government can just see you and just decide to bankroll you, like you're going to be their Lord Haha, even without feeding you lines or something, even without making it obvious on what's going on, you're just doing that, Okay, that's very strange, but what's clear is it's much more broad, and they're putting money in. They have multiple inputs, okay, and they can put some here and some here, and in the end, it's going to be a broad thing, and so that's what should be really revealing, the fact that they're putting. This isn't a huge dollar amount right now. Like, even though you're talking like millions of dollars, like Tim Pool, he probably does make he probably does pretty decent. Like he said that this doesn't like he said like that kind of money, you know, it wouldn't be enough to like change his lifestyle or whatever, because he's already got so much coming in. But who knows how much of that coming in isn't kind of dubious in itself. And then just why would just Russia do that just to do it, you know? If it's not that big of a deal to you, but it's because they're doing this broadly, not just to you, but across the board, you know, to all these different people. And it's going to be, especially with conservatards, but there's a kind of far left kind of thing. There's also kind of like a fake far left thing. I'd say every kind of all the Charlie Kirk sort of thing, probably every kind of libertarian is probably in whether wittingly or unwittingly Russian agent, Russian brainwashed, Russian duped fool, moron. Okay? Every kind of trad, certainly every kind of trad, all the trads, these are fake Christians, fake traditionalists. Okay? That's what the whole Russian religion is. So these people have basically the same religion as Russia. Christian nationalism is the same. Christian nationalism, by the way, is a complete joke and should be rejected outright, just completely. But for one, what church is even good at all as far as nationalism goes? Just at all in America. Please name one. Because I can't really think of one. And I'd like to hear it. So no real clergy, no real church is really on board, but we're gonna have Christian nationalism and like some theocratic rule or something, even though no churches really have solutions for our political solutions for our country at all. Like, name one church that has political solutions for our country at all. Like, I mean, if you can think of one, let me know. But I don't really know a single one, including the one I go to, that really has any answers on for political solutions for our country. So how could Christian nationalism possibly even be a thing, unless it's just like someone foreign is cooking this up who has no idea what they're talking about? They probably may figure that there's some influence there or something, but there's no reason. These churches there isn't a single church that's equipped. Okay. Christians by and large in our country are most Christians are not like, if you meet someone and they just say I'm a Christian and you don't dig into that at all, are you really like impressed by somebody? Like, you don't know what they could even mean by that at this point. And most likely it's probably not good. That's just the truth of the matter. And so if you're coming up with Christian nationalism, you're probably a total fraud. And the people who come up with this stuff are like, I mean, like, what is it, like Marjorie Taylor Greene or whatever? and who is totally pro-Russia. And all these people, every kind of Christian nationalist is garbage, or it's like a Charlie Kirk style thing. What church does he even go to? And like, I don't know. It's just total nonsense. And then however many of these people are, I mean they're going to be trad cats or something. Like the Pope has Pope Francis is going to be down with Christian nationalism. You know, he's probably, his opinion on it would probably be correct, that it's garbage. I bet he'd give a correct. I bet on that issue, not to say, obviously, who knows what he's going to say on however many issues, but I bet on that issue, it's going to be correct. It's going to be, because libtards by and large are correct that Christian nationalism is a joke and can't do anything to fix our country. And even things like abortion, where they're flipping out about abortion. Like, evangelicals did very little years in and out until Trump managed to throw him a bone. Trump, the great Christian himself, gets rid of Roe versus Wade, and then they're plotting to turn on him. They're literally getting Russian money from Agent Kalashnikov to turn on Trump over abortion. And that's Christian nationalism. It's a fucking joke, man. I don't know. What this is high treason for a lot of these people. And they're trying to play Lord Haw-Haw for the Russian Federation, and they need to be dealt with, much the same way. In fact, hopefully, I hope to God that it could fall out like that. But who knows? Like, there's only so much we can really hope for. But, a step in the right direction, if there's any indictments at all, what we'd like to see is maybe more arrests being made. People, the timing is a little suspect. You should just be thankful that it's happening at all. And maybe it actually came just in time to save you from, being duped by foreign, enemies, by hostile enemy nations who weren't even for Trump anyway, and weren't even like, you're so dumb. They weren't even for. First off, they're totally in on it. Like, the Russians are totally doing the stuff with Israel anyway, and they have a propaganda pact together, and are like Netanyahu and Putin are good buddies. So, I mean, don't even get me started. And then you're gonna say all this weird stuff. Like, you should just be thankful that this is going on, and there should just be more of it. And that's really where the government should be criticized, is that they're not doing enough of this stuff. That by and large, they're letting this run rampant and doing very little to move against all these people. How long has Dave Rubin been getting away with his crimes? And how long will Tim Pool continue to be up to mischief and subverting our country, just like these people always had. Like, in the 60s, it was the same thing, where Russia could they got all this social change through their media ops, and by bankrolling people here and there. Back then it was a communist agent, but now maybe it's maybe still a Russian communist, but they'll get a different kind of agent. They're a little more advanced, if anything. They've gotten more advanced at this stuff than they have been in the past. So it's definitely what we've been talking about. You know, there's not much. Like I said, there's not much point in me saying like, oh, I'm right. Like, obviously I'm right. I didn't really need the Justice Department to say that. We've completely proven already that this is what we're dealing with. So that's cool that the Justice Department will do very little to help us. You know, yay. But maybe we'll get more. You know, we don't want to complain, but maybe they'll actually do their job and get rid of more of these clowns, because this is like our biggest enemy. You know, they prevent anything from getting done. Like, they're making our country so stupid. They're just dumbing everyone down, and like, it's just the ultimate. I don't know. I mean, it is. I don't know. But there's all these goofy people. Anyhow, hopefully there'll be more, just because we know that there are so many of these people around, and obviously Russia wouldn't just like, oh yeah, well, we just need to get Tim Pool to say the line. He's saying the same stuff that all these other people are saying. Tim Pool there's enough of these people. Tim Pool can put a new guest on his show like every day, you know, and then they're gonna package it up like it's just a cool skateboard guy, you know. Not like it's not like just Russian it's not like some Russian, like, it's not like Agent Kalashnikov is just telling you directly. He's got a cool skateboard beanie guy. Well, you know, this cool skateboard kid in a beanie is going to tell you. And it's just, you know, this is just what he was going to say anyways. He was just going to scream that Ukraine is our enemy, is the enemy of the U.S. He's going to scream that you need to buy Bitcoin to help Russia beat sanctions, you know, because he has no value for human life whatsoever. That just, like, you know, some country could just attack, you know, like, imagine if that's your neighborhood or something and just some dickhead army is just killing everybody because you live in a libtard country or something. But maybe you're not even a libtard yourself, or maybe you don't run biolabs and you're just a normal person trying to, like, get by with your family, and then some just dickhead just starts killing everybody, and then Tim Pool's like celebrating it or something because of the most arcane reasons that you could ever think of, like stuff you've never heard of in your life. But Tim Pool will, like, say that's why you should die, because he's collecting just a hip load of money from the whole thing, and every other conservatard grifter, and then every other kind of insincere, you know, ingenuine, phony baloney person comes along to try to get paid with the whole thing and make a name for themselves, is willing to lie their ass off about the whole thing and then bring their religion in on it. The whole thing is really offensive, but it's okay, you know. You know, only so many people care, but it's only our whole country getting subverted from, you know, the top down or whatever, and then, you know, just people dying and so forth. But, you know, whatever. But I don't know. But yeah, I guess we'll call it that. Anyhow, thank you for listening. You know, God bless you.